Ruthie, do you want me to keep an eye on the chat line, or are you gonna cover the questions?
Nope, I'll handle the chat line. I'll let you know when you
Okay.
have a question coming up or if someone needs to follow up.
All right. Well, I am ready when y'all are.
We are officially recording. You are welcome to begin there. Maybe you can give a greeting and then start to take questions.
Great. Well, thank you all for joining. Obviously, this is a little different this year. I was speaking in a relatively empty room with the crew and a few staff, and my 11-year-old daughter Brianna joined me today, which was nice to have. But missed having you all here. But glad to have you virtually, and happy to answer any questions you have about anything you heard or anything else.
Hey, hi, it's Chris Baker.
Hey, Chris.
So I'm just wondering if you can speak a little bit about. It felt like this year there weren't maybe the same sort of big new initiatives that we've seen the last 2 years in states of the city. Syracuse Surge 2 years ago, the Blueprint 15, and Resurgent Neighborhoods last year. Is it a little harder to find space for those kinds of new big projects as we head into a year we're still in the middle of a pandemic?
Yeah, well, we've taken on a lot over the past 3 years, and the most important thing for me is to accomplish what we set out to do before we take on anything else. So we have taken on a number of things throughout the course of the year, and you heard about some new initiatives tonight. But just within Syracuse Surge, Blueprint 15, and the Resurgent Neighborhoods Initiative that you mentioned, those are multi-pronged initiatives with numerous projects, many of which are underway or about to be underway. So again, I think it's important for us to continue to get things done. That's a hallmark of our administration. I'm much more interested in ribbon cuttings than groundbreakings or announcements. So yeah, I think that we have plenty on our plate still to get done. And as I talked about tonight, the pandemic did slow some of our progress, but it didn't stop it. So heading into this year, the focus really is finishing what we started and then taking on what comes next.
Also, you'd mentioned when you were talking about some of the public safety stuff that this was that officers were shot at more times this year than ever in the past. I hadn't heard that before. Do you have any specific numbers on that, and what does that mean to you? I mean, is that a concerning trend at all?
Yeah, it's certainly concerning to our officers. I've heard it consistently throughout the year, and it's concerning to me, and that's why I wanted to raise it. We don't have specific numbers going back for multiple years, which is why I wasn't able to give a specific data point reference. But I've spoken to officers that have been in the department a long time, including First Deputy Chief Joe Cecil, who's been in the department for more than 30 years. And from their perspective, it wasn't even close. So at a minimum, Chris, I can get you the number of times that they were shot at this year. But yeah, that's, I mean, anytime you enter into that line of work, you know what you're signing up for. You know it's going to be dangerous. But with all the other challenges this year, it was certainly something that we all took notice of, and something that I wanted to acknowledge because, again, I've pushed the department hard on reform because I think it's the right thing to do. But that never should suggest that I don't appreciate the work that they do and the sacrifices they make and how dangerous their job is. And tonight was an opportunity to recognize that. But also, in addition to recognizing the shots fired at officers, I think that the use of force statistics that I shared, the fact that use of force went down overall, and injuries to officers and citizens went down despite acts of aggression going up. That to me suggests that that's where policy meets practice, and it suggests to me that the hard work that Chief Buckner and his team and the officers through training have put in on revising their use of force policy and other related policies is working. It's showing in the numbers. So again, I wanted to make sure I gave a full, comprehensive picture of what's happening with our department and with our officers, because again, I've been quick to point to opportunities for reform. So I want to point to areas where they're really performing at a high level, and at a dangerous level.
Mayor, you have a question from Ashley about Syracuse Serves. She'd like to know, does it include job training efforts to support veterans working on I-81? And is this a population targeted by Syracuse Build as well?
Thank you, Ashley. Yes, veterans are absolutely a specific population that we are targeting through Syracuse Build. Syracuse University is one of our key anchor partners in Syracuse Build, and that was a priority for them. It's a priority for us. Syracuse Serves is it's really about taking all of the programs and all of the services and bringing them into one place where it's easy for veterans to find the services that are available to them, whether it's a Syracuse Build program or getting the proper healthcare needs. It's difficult for anybody to navigate the social services world, but when you add on top of it the additional services and support networks for veterans, while they are certainly valued, it's a lot. And so as I was looking for a meaningful way to support veterans, when we came upon the America Serves program, we found that we had a gold standard program in our backyard that was being driven by Syracuse University in other communities, and it just seemed to be a no-brainer to me that we would do it here too. But again, the short answer is that yes, connecting our veterans to job programs and job opportunities is a critical piece of both Syracuse Build and Syracuse Serves.
If I could follow up on that question, Ricky from Citrus TV, for Syracuse Serves, what exactly is that going to look like? Is that going to be a hotline for veterans to call? Is it a website? Can you speak more to that program?
So it's a combination. So one of the hallmarks of the program is the back end data management function, managing all of the data not only on the services but also on the veterans that are being served. So that's a proprietary program that IVMF brings to the table with the America Serves and Syracuse Serves program. So it's really just a centralized place where you can find information. To your point, to your question, Ricky, it is both virtual and physical within the Institute of Veterans and Military Families. So it is both physical and a physical space where people can go, as well as a virtual one-stop shop.
Hi, Mayor. Ellen Abbott from WRVO. This was a really optimistic speech, and this is a year some politicians are calling a very dark year. So why do you choose this type of tone? What does this, are you trying to, I guess, make everybody feel good or what?
Well, Ellen, I think you've known me long enough to know that I'm a generally optimistic person. But I've been honest about the fact that despite my optimistic nature, that 2020 has challenged me and has given me, just like everyone else, some very dark days. So by no means am I trying to gloss over the difficulties and the challenges. But yeah, as I look towards 2021 and towards the future, as we come out of the pandemic, there have been incredible challenges, but I feel hopeful. I feel optimistic. The vaccine rollout is underway. People are going to be more protected. All of the ingredients, as I said, that were in place before the pandemic that were driving our success are still here. So there is a lot that we will never want to forget, and that we need to continue to reflect on in terms of tragedy and difficult challenges that we faced over the past year. But again, the theme of the speech was standing strong, and I think that's what we've done as a community. And because of that, I continue to feel hopeful and optimistic about the future of the city of Syracuse.
Hi, Mayor. It's Megan and Amanda with CMI Central. How are you?
Hello. Good. Thanks.
Good. Okay. So going off of that question, I know Senator Chuck Schumer had announced earlier that he was planning on getting money to municipalities. Are you really banking on that? Is that a reason why your speech was so optimistic?
Well, I've learned, Megan, over the past year to try to manage my expectations when it comes to federal funding. I had allowed my hopes to get up previously, and so I am more optimistic than I've been in quite a while, given the new administration and the new Senate majority. I've spoken with Senator Schumer. I know that this is a priority for him. So yeah, it does give me more hope and more optimism. But what also gives me hope is the fact that we've made the difficult decisions. We've been able to manage the crisis here in a way that has largely protected our workforce, our services. Certainly, we believe that we deserve federal funding to get us back to where we were, and that will certainly help to accelerate the progress that we're making. But again, I'm really proud of our team for being proactive, identifying the crisis early on, and adjusting our budget and our spending accordingly. So we can still be standing here in January 2021, being able to deliver the majority of the services that people expect. So I'm hopeful, I'm encouraged and optimistic that we will get federal resources. But in the meantime, we're going to continue doing what we've been doing to get through this crisis.
Hi,
Hey,
Mayor.
Mary. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, Josh, you go.
Oh, you want me to go? Okay. You knew that was going to happen eventually. I'm even stepping on people's toes when I'm at home. Mayor, you touched on a little bit early on in your speech, or about midway, I should say, roadways, something that people will notice as they're driving into the city, as they work in the city, those who live in the city. I explained how much road work you got done this past year and how much more you want to do as we are still trying to make our way through this pandemic.
Sure. As mayor, and I think it's probably the case for most mayors, one of the things that you hear most about is the condition of roads. We all spend a lot of time in our cars. You hear about potholes, you hear about road conditions. And I thought it was important to note that the year before I became mayor, the city paved 4 miles of roads in the city. This past year, we paved 15 miles of road. That is nearly quadruple the amount. That is not insignificant. So I'm really proud of that fact. Our DPW Commissioner, Jeremy Robinson, in partnership with our Chief Operating Officer, Corey Driscoll-Dunham, really rolled up their sleeves. I challenged them to get creative, to figure out ways in which we could do more, and they did it. So there's a lot of metrics to evaluate our progress and the quality of our services, but roads is always going to be one of them. And by all accounts, we are performing at a very high level on our road paving.
Mayor, it's Ellen Abbott again. Just a couple things. You said that the website was online tonight, and then you said it's going to be unveiled later this year. So I was a little confused about that. And also, if you could expand too on the state legislation to force police to live in cities and why you're turning to that and what you think that will do in the future.
So the website tonight was a sneak peek. We have been working very hard, and I honestly had no idea what a monumental undertaking creating a new website would be. I came in, having suffered through the old website throughout my time in the previous administration. One of my thoughts was I was going to walk through the doors of City Hall and tell somebody to get us a new website, and poof, it would be there. It is, the graphics is the easy part. It's moving all of that information, not only moving it, but making it accessible and usable. So it's been a long time coming. It's been a heavy lift, but we are almost there. And so tonight was just a sneak peek at the visual, and later this year you'll have the real deal. So that's again one of those boxes that I felt like I really needed to check, both for myself and for our constituents in my first term. In terms of your other question was
state legislation
about residency. Yeah. So again, we worked really hard during the contract negotiation to get that into the agreement. I felt very good about the fact that we did, but ultimately it didn't get passed. The council voted it down. So as I mentioned, we are headed into arbitration. It's still on the table, but part of the problem with going into arbitration is you don't fully control your destiny. So given that, residency continues to be a priority. We had discussions with our state representatives. I also had discussions with other mayors across New York State. They're pursuing a residency requirement in Buffalo, in Rochester, and in Albany. So increasingly, it appeared that we had another good opportunity to pursue it at the state level. So with Assemblymember Hunter and Senator May, they drafted up legislation. We've worked with them and with the council to get everybody on the same page. And now it's up to the state legislature to approve it. So we're pursuing parallel tracks. It's a priority, and I'm hopeful we can get it done.
Hi, Mayor. What's being done to keep Destiny USA a viable part of Syracuse and making sure it doesn't become just the next vacant building like we kind of saw with Shopping Town?
Yeah, I'm certainly worried about Destiny. I actually spoke with the ownership today, and they're doing everything they can, and it's kind of a perfect storm for them. They're dealing with fundamental shifts in retail, which they identified prior to the pandemic, and we've seen them shift to more of an entertainment style facility, which I think has been good for them. But when you combine that with the pandemic, again, it's been a perfect storm for them. So, all I can do is offer our support wherever possible, keep an open line of communication, and that's what we're doing. And they know that if they need something, they can reach out, and that's how we'll continue to go. But yeah, I'm concerned.
Mayor Walsh, this is Trish with Spectrum. Going off of Ellen's question, can you talk about the programs that you announced at Fowler for firefighters and police officers?
Sure, yeah. So that's another thing, another priority when I came into office. I saw what was happening at PSLA at Fowler and saw the value of the CTE programs that were being offered, specifically around public safety, both in fire and law enforcement. And the missing piece was the relationship and the connection to our actual departments. So I had challenged both Chief Mons and Chief Buckner to pursue those relationships and ultimately those programs. And it just so happened to be that it all came together with both this year. So in the case of the Fire Rescue Pathways program, that's an existing program. Through the partnership with the Syracuse Fire Department, they're expanding that program. They're creating multiple opportunities, whether it be to take the Fire One course that is a requirement for becoming a firefighter, or pursuing other related certifications, pursuing the drone CTE program, emergency medical services, but not only making sure that we're supporting them on the curriculum side, but also giving those young people an opportunity to interact and engage directly with our firefighters, to be on site and on the job. So it's really taking that program to the next level and creating those specific relationships and opportunities. So if and when kids come out of that program and they decide that they want to be in the Syracuse Fire Department, a lot of that foundation has already been built. Similarly, with the police department, there's an existing program at PSLA, and the police department has been anxious to develop a stronger relationship with them. They have a former SPD officer who's running that program now. But it also solves by creating this cadet program, which is a little bit different than what the fire department is doing. The cadet program is really focused on those kids that are graduating. You cannot go into the academy until you're 20 years old. So there's those 2 gap years where the police department feels like they lose a lot of kids. And so creating this cadet program where kids can graduate from high school, can continue and do some coursework at OCC, but can also get a job with SPD that gives them experience, again, gives them an opportunity to network and build relationships. So if they get to the point where they turn 20 and they're ready to go into the academy, that a lot of that foundation has already been laid. So for me, it's a match made in heaven. It helps us accomplish some of our priorities for both fire and police, namely having more city residents in those departments, ensuring that those departments reflect the community that they serve, and it's a home run. I'm really thrilled about it.
Hi, Mayor Walsh. What's one program or initiative that maybe you would hope to announce today, something you may have been having in the plans for a few years, but you can't because of the pandemic?
Well, I'm not going to put it solely on the pandemic, but I talked about sidewalks tonight, and that was something that I talked about at last State of the City, where we had made progress. We were entering into the second year and an expanded sidewalk snow removal program. We had gotten to the point, and I had gotten to the point where I believed that the long-term comprehensive solution to improving sidewalks and pedestrian infrastructure in the city was to develop a municipal sidewalk program. And I was hopeful that that in 2020 we were going to be able to put those pieces together. Of course, again, the pandemic hit. That slowed our progress there. We have picked back up on it. I had mentioned our new budget director, Tim Rudd. That was a priority for him on the council, so it was great to bring him onto the team and have him start working through the financial model of it. And we're very close to having those pieces together, and we're preparing to introduce that to the council and to the community. Again, as I mentioned, Ricky, the challenge in the pandemic is there's a cost associated with taking on responsibility for sidewalks. Some of that cost is going to have to be borne by property owners, and that is not something that I take lightly, especially in the midst of a pandemic. So we think we have the financial model right, but then we also have to make sure we have the implementation and the rollout right, and the pandemic is going to influence how and when that happens.
Mayor Walsh, I might have missed this, but did you announce the opening date for the market? And can you talk a little bit about how excited you are for that project to be done?
You missed it, Trish. I'm sorry. No, I'm just kidding. No, I didn't give a specific date, Trish. I mean, I've been here over the past 2 days. I gave my dress rehearsal run earlier today. I kind of likened it to to training in high altitude. I was there was banging and beeping and people walking and doors slamming, and it was absolutely an active construction site. So hopefully that helped with my delivery today, but we're weeks away. The goal is to have it open by the end of this month, and it's going to be real close. I'm looking around. I can see all of the menus for each of the restaurants, which has made me hungry now for the past 48 hours. This place is going to be incredible. Not only is it a world-class facility that people, if they're coming from across the street at the Hotel Syracuse, the impression that they're going to get of the city of Syracuse is going to be incredible. But what's so cool is these aren't just restaurants with international themes. They're legit. These are Syracuse residents that have made Syracuse their home, that are from all around the world and have brought their cuisines and their culture with them. So it just puts all of the beautiful diversity of our city into an amazing, beautiful new space. And I am going to be here probably more than my diet should allow, but it's going to be awesome.
Obviously, hi Mayor. Obviously, the pandemic stalled, and you weren't allowed to get a lot done that you wanted to get done. But can you point to some concrete examples of how Syracuse residents' lives are better today than they were at your last State of the City?
I'm sorry. It was Syracuse. What are better?
Like how the quality of life, the everyday lives of Syracuse residents are better than they were a year ago today.
Sure, Violet. So, I talked a lot about the services that we've delivered in spite of the pandemic. One of them that I think sometimes doesn't get the attention it deserves is the new service that we introduced right before the pandemic, which is the Financial Empowerment Center. That program, as I mentioned during my speech, has helped over 600 residents and has saved them a total of $1.2 million in debt reduction. That is significant in a city where poverty is a real challenge for us. To be able to deliver that type of service to people, arguably when they need it most, is something that I'm very proud of. I talked about the roads that we've been able to pave, the significant increase in roads paved, and then I talked about all of the projects. The Resurgent Neighborhoods Initiative. That's about improving neighborhoods and improving people's quality of life. We're building new homes in neighborhoods. We are revitalizing business districts. Our focus area for our innovation team is quality of life. We hired a new illegal set out inspector who's going to work to clean up our neighborhoods where you won't have big piles of trash outside of people's houses every day. So there's a lot that we've been able to accomplish. Not to mention some of the private sector job growth opportunities. I mean, again, the fact that we are building a high-tech manufacturing facility on the south side of Syracuse in a building that represented the industrial legacy of the city, but it had long been vacant. To do that in a pandemic is remarkable. This facility, these are not only are they great job creators and revenue boosters. These are creating real opportunities for real working people, and we're being very intentional in how we're making those connections. Even something as simple as streetlights. One of the old adages or metrics that is used in local government is if somebody walks outside of their house and looks around, has anything changed since the time you started your job? And I believe for a lot of people there are a number of examples, but literally everyone in the city, when they walk out of their house at night, they will look up and they'll see a new LED streetlight that provides a better quality service at a lower cost. It's good for the environment, and again, those are all things that I think people can look to as improvements. But clearly, much work to be done, and I really feel in many ways we're still just getting started.
All right, Mayor, that was your last question. I don't believe we have anyone else. Just checking in.
Can I throw in one final quick one?
Only if it's about the Bills, Chris.
That's exactly what I was going to ask. Aren't you worried that you might have jinxed them this weekend?
So I will admit I am not the lifelong tortured Bills fan that you are, Chris. I've always been a bit half-hearted. My dad tried to raise me as a Giants fan, but I've always had a soft spot in my heart for the Bills. My wife's family's from Rochester, and there's some Bills fans out that way. So I've grown into my Bills fandom hood, and if I do jinx them this upcoming game, I guess I'll be an official Bills fan. But I apologize in advance if I did.
On that note, I will let you wrap it up and say goodnight to everyone, Mayor. Everyone else who asked for a copy of the video, we'll send you a link as soon as it's available. Thank you for joining.
Good night, everybody.
Hey, Trish.